Have you ever paused to consider the deeper meaning behind the month you were born in? At first glance, it might seem like a trivial detail, a date circled on the calendar with no real significance. But Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers in psychology, saw it differently. To him, the month of your birth wasn't just a point in time, it was a window into the very essence of your soul. Jung believed that the moment of your birth was more than a biological event. It was a symbolic threshold that carried the energy of the cosmos, nature, and your own unconscious mind. In his view, the month you were born held clues about your spiritual makeup, your emotional currents, and even the secret yearnings of your soul. This wasn't about superstition or simplistic fortune-telling. It was a profound lens for self-awareness. Imagine for a moment that understanding the symbolism of your birth month could offer you insights into your deepest patterns, your emotional cycles, your unconscious fears, and your hidden gifts. It sounds dramatic, but Jung's ideas on archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the natural rhythms of life suggest this is more than possible. It's a map to self-discovery. In this journey, we'll explore how the month of your birth, seen through Jung's symbolic lens, can reveal aspects of your soul's path. Each month is like a gateway, holding a particular kind of psychological and spiritual energy. And if you pay attention, you might just discover how this energy echoes in your own life, your struggles, your triumphs, and your growth. But before we begin, if you're someone who values depth, meaning, and personal evolution, consider subscribing to our channel. Here, we go beyond surface-level tips and dive into the real currents shaping who we are. By joining us, you'll become part of a community committed to growth through self-knowledge, reflection, and the timeless insights of thinkers like Jung. Now take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear isn't just information. It's an invitation to see your birth month as a reflection of your soul's unique journey. It's not about putting you into a box. It's about uncovering the patterns that have been quietly shaping you all along. Jung's central insight was that the universe is alive with archetypes, universal forces that appear in myths, dreams, and cultures around the world. These archetypes live within each of us, shaping our thoughts and behaviors. But Jung also saw that nature itself, its cycles of growth and decay, light and dark, mirrored these archetypes. The seasons of the year weren't just changes in weather. They were symbolic movements of the soul. Your birth month, then, isn't random. It's a point in this great cycle, a moment when the world's energy aligned with your arrival. The light, the darkness, the silence, the activity of that month, all of it imprints on your psyche. It creates a symbolic atmosphere that stays with you long after you've left the cradle. Think of March, for example. In many parts of the world, March is a time of transition, winter giving way to spring. People born in March often carry within them this transitional energy. They're sensitive to change, always adapting, always seeking the balance between the old and the new. They might feel both a longing for stability and an urge to grow, pulled in two directions at once. Compare this to someone born in December, a time of endings and quiet reflection. December-born souls often have a wise, philosophical nature. They look at life as a story, one with meaning and mystery. Their soul's energy carries the echoes of ancient truths, and they feel drawn to understand what lies beneath the surface. Jung taught that time itself has a texture, a mood, and a meaning. And when we're born, we enter into that living story. Our birth month becomes part of our soul's melody, a background theme that we carry through life. It doesn't decide everything for us, but it creates a framework, a symbolic landscape in which our story unfolds. This landscape doesn't trap you. It doesn't limit your potential, but it does offer you a mirror, a way to see parts of yourself that might have gone unnoticed. And that mirror can be one of the most powerful tools for growth. So now we ask, what does your birth month reveal about your soul's path? Each month, Jung believed, has a resonance, a dominant archetype that shapes how we see the world and how we respond to it. Understanding this can show you the deeper reasons behind your choices, your challenges, and your moments of transformation. In the sections ahead, we'll walk through each month of the year, uncovering the archetypes that shape them and the soul energies they invite you to explore. From the quiet wisdom of January to the fiery transformation of November, you'll see how your birth month is more than a date. It's a doorway to understanding your own depths. Remember, these archetypes are not cages. They're keys. They won't tell you what you must do, but they'll help you see the currents flowing in your heart. And with that awareness, you can choose your path more freely. If you're ready to explore the hidden meaning of your birth month and how it might be quietly guiding your soul's journey, stay with us. In the next part, we'll begin this exploration month by month, starting with January, February, and March. And as you listen, you might find reflections of yourself that you've always felt, but never had words for. Because your birth month isn't just a marker of time, it's a whisper from the universe, reminding you that your soul story is both unique and part of something much greater. January, the archetype of the elder or the sage. January opens the year with a profound stillness. In much of the world, it is the coldest and quietest month, a time of reflection and deep introspection. To Carl Jung, January embodies the archetype of the elder or the sage, a figure of wisdom, contemplation, and maturity. If you were born in January, you may have always felt an old soul within you. There's a natural gravitas to your presence, a sense of responsibility and insight that often sets you apart from your peers. You may not always be the loudest in the room, but when you speak, people tend to listen, because your words often come from a place of genuine reflection and understanding. This archetype also suggests a deep inner strength and a capacity for long-term vision. You may find yourself drawn to roles that require steadiness and patience, careers, relationships, or passions that demand dedication and reliability. At times, though, this same energy can weigh heavily. The sage archetype's shadow is a tendency toward excessive caution or a feeling of being burdened by seriousness. It's important to remember that true wisdom is not only found in solemnity, it also needs room for laughter and lightness. February, the archetype of the visionary or the revolutionary. In February, there's a subtle but powerful shift. Though winter may still have its grip, the days are lengthening, and a sense of possibility begins to stir. For Jung, this is the energy of the visionary, the one who sees beyond the present moment and feels compelled to shape what's coming next. Those born in February often have a keen sense of what could be, even when others are stuck in what is. They are imaginative, original thinkers, often pushing the boundaries of tradition and expectation. There's a natural independence to them, a refusal to be confined by the roles or rules that don't feel authentic. They're often creative and sensitive, attuned to the inner world as much as the outer one. Yet the visionary's challenge is to stay connected to the present. It can be tempting to live entirely in the world of ideas, to become lost in dreams and ideals while neglecting the practical steps that bring them to life. February-born individuals may find that their growth lies in bridging that gap, learning how to ground their insights so they can make a real impact. March, the archetype of the reborn or the awakener. March marks a turning point. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's the month when winter loosens its hold and spring begins to awaken. Jung saw this as a time of powerful renewal, an archetype of the reborn or the awakener. If you were born in March, you likely carry a deep emotional intensity. There's an almost mystical quality to the way you move through the world, an openness to transformation, an ability to let go of what no longer serves and emerge anew. You may find yourself drawn to art, spirituality, or healing, anything that invites you to dive below the surface and reconnect with life's deeper currents. However, this archetype also brings challenges. The reborn can sometimes become overwhelmed by the emotional tides within. There's a need to learn how to anchor yourself, to find balance between your rich inner world and the demands of everyday life. Your gift is your capacity to inspire change in yourself and in those around you. When you honor that balance, you become a catalyst for growth, a reminder that even the coldest winters eventually give way to new beginnings. April, the archetype of the warrior or the initiator. April arrives with a surge of vibrant energy. As the world begins to bloom, this month carries a spirit of action, determination, and courage. According to Carl Jung, April resonates with the archetype of the warrior or the initiator, the one who brings forth change through bold movement and unshakable will. For those born in April, there is a natural intensity to your spirit. You're not one to wait for permission or to be told what to do. You feel the call to blaze your own trail, to challenge the status quo, and to protect what matters most. Whether it's in your career, relationships, or creative pursuits, you're driven by an inner fire that refuses to be ignored. This drive can be both a gift and a challenge. The warrior's shadow often shows up as impulsiveness or even aggression when that fiery energy isn't balanced by awareness. You may find yourself pushing too hard, too fast, burning the candle at both ends in the name of progress. Learning to pause, to gather your strength, and to direct your energy mindfully is crucial. In that pause, you'll find the difference between action that nourishes and action that exhausts. But the true strength of the warrior archetype lies in its ability to inspire. When you're aligned with your inner courage, you show others what it means to live boldly and authentically. Your presence becomes a beacon, calling forth the same fearless spirit in those around you. May, the archetype of the builder or the lover of simplicity. As spring deepens, May brings a calmer, more grounded energy. Jung believed this month carried the archetype of the builder, the one who finds beauty in stability and creates lasting foundations in both the physical and emotional worlds. If you were born in May, you're often blessed with a deep appreciation for life's simple pleasures. You find comfort in routines, in the natural rhythms of life, and in the quiet joys of the senses, whether it's the smell of fresh earth, the taste of a homemade meal, or the soft touch of a loved one's hand. There's a nurturing quality to your energy, a warmth that invites others to rest and recharge in your presence. Yet, like every archetype, the builder has its challenges. You may become too attached to what's known, hesitant to leave the familiar for the uncertain. There can be a reluctance to let go of what's comfortable, even when it no longer supports your growth. But when you remember that real beauty often grows from change, you find the courage to build not just what's safe, but what's truly meaningful. June, the archetype of the seeker or the mediator. June sits at the crossroads of the year, a time of brightness, curiosity, and open-hearted exploration. In Jung's symbolic framework, June resonates with the archetype of the seeker, the one who asks the deeper questions, who longs to connect and understand. Those born in June often have quick minds and even quicker hearts. There's a natural curiosity that drives you, a need to learn and experience as much as you can. You're often a bridge between ideas, cultures, and people, someone who sees the common thread that ties it all together. Your gift is your ability to listen deeply and to share insights in ways that inspire others to open their minds. The challenge for the seeker is focus. With so many possibilities pulling at your attention, it can be hard to choose a single path, or to stick with it once you've begun. June-born individuals may also find themselves pulled in opposite directions: the desire to explore everything and the need to feel grounded and at peace. Your growth comes from learning to balance these forces, allowing yourself to wander, but always coming home to what matters most. As you explore these archetypes, remember, they are not final definitions. They are mirrors, showing you parts of yourself that you may not have named, but that have always been there, quietly guiding your choices. And if you want to go deeper in this journey of self-discovery, take a look at our ebook, The SIM Method. In just a few minutes a day, it offers you tools to unlock your mind's hidden patterns and transform them into clarity and peace. The link is in the pinned comments below. Each birth month whispers a message about your soul's journey: the warrior's courage, the builder's love of the real and enduring, the seeker's quest for connection. These are not separate, but interconnected parts of you. Jung taught that the soul doesn't live in isolation, but in a continuous dance with the energies of nature, the cycles of life, and the archetypes that echo through every culture and every era. In the next section, we'll move into the second half of the year, where the warmth of summer begins to fade and deeper truths emerge in the quiet of autumn and the mystery of winter. But for now, pause for a moment. Reflect on your own birth month, on the memories it stirs, the patterns it holds, and the subtle ways it may have shaped who you are today. When you see these patterns not as chains, but as invitations, you open the door to a deeper sense of freedom and purpose. And that, above all else, is what Jung believed: that the soul is not a prisoner of fate, but a creator of meaning. July, the archetype of the protector or the nurturer. As the summer sun reaches its peak, July carries an energy of warmth, belonging, and connection. Jung saw this as the time of the nurturer or the protector, those who naturally create safe spaces where others can thrive. If you were born in July, chances are you carry within you a deep emotional intelligence. You notice what others feel, even if they never speak it aloud. There's a softness in your presence, a sense that people can let down their guard and be themselves around you. In families and communities, you're often the quiet anchor, offering reassurance and understanding even when the world outside feels turbulent. But with this gift comes a shadow. Because you're so attuned to others, you might forget to turn that same care inward. You may become the one everyone leans on, even when your own shoulders are tired. There can be a tendency to carry the weight of others' needs, to lose yourself in the act of giving. July-born souls must remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Your compassion shines brightest when you include yourself in its glow. The gift of the nurturer archetype lies in the depth of your emotional roots. You understand that love isn't a transaction, it's a sanctuary. And even in your quietest moments, that energy of protection, loyalty, and tenderness flows through you, making you a healing presence in a world that often forgets the power of simple kindness. August, the archetype of the leader or the sovereign. August arrives in a blaze of heat and confidence. It's the month of high summer, where everything feels larger than life. Jung associated this period with the archetype of the leader or the sovereign, someone who carries a sense of inner command, vision, and dignity. For those born in August, there's often a natural magnetism. You don't always seek the spotlight, but it tends to find you. There's a quiet authority in how you carry yourself, a sense that you're here to do more than just exist. You're here to create, to influence, to leave a mark that matters. But leadership isn't always easy. The sovereign archetype carries both light and shadow. In its highest form, it's about guiding others with wisdom and compassion. In its shadow, it can become about control, about seeking admiration rather than authenticity. August-born individuals may find themselves wrestling with this balance, the call to lead and the temptation to rule. The key to harmonizing these forces lies in humility. True leaders know they are not above others. They are simply called to serve in a way that uplifts everyone. When you embrace that truth, your natural power becomes a force for inspiration rather than domination. And remember, your strength doesn't lie in how loudly you speak or how many follow you. It lives in how deeply you embody your own integrity. That's what makes your presence shine, like the high summer sun that nourishes everything it touches. September, the archetype of the analyst or the perfectionist. As the heat of summer begins to wane, September brings a shift, a softening light, a hint of change in the air. This is the month of harvest, of sorting and refining. For Jung, it resonates with the archetype of the analyst, the one who seeks clarity, order, and truth. If you were born in September, you may feel this pull in your bones, the need to understand, to make sense of the world around you. There's a gift in your ability to see the details that others miss, to bring coherence to the chaos. You're the one who notices the patterns, who sees the quiet connections that others overlook. But the analyst's gift can become a burden if left unchecked. That eye for detail can turn inward, turning into self-criticism and an endless search for perfection. You might find yourself stuck in a loop of second-guessing, of feeling that nothing you do is ever quite good enough. The challenge for September-born souls is to remember that order is a tool, not a prison. Perfection isn't the goal, connection is. When you release the need to control every outcome, you find the freedom to create with joy, not fear. At its best, the analyst archetype is about seeing the truth with compassion. It's about using your sharp mind to build bridges, not walls, to bring clarity, not judgment. And in doing so, you become not just a thinker, but a quiet guide for those still searching for their own answers. October, the archetype of the diplomat or the artist. October emerges like a gentle sigh, soft, luminous, and full of quiet contrasts. As the leaves turn to fiery gold and crimson, there's a sense of poetry in the air, a reminder that even in the dying of the year, there is still beauty to be found. In Carl Jung's symbolic map, October is the month of the diplomat or the artist, the one who sees beyond the obvious, who understands that life is a tapestry woven from both light and shadow. If you were born in October, you likely feel at home in the spaces in between. You're someone who instinctively seeks balance between passion and peace, between giving and receiving. In conversations, you're the peacemaker, the one who knows how to listen, how to soothe, how to bridge the gap between hearts. But there's also a creative fire in you, a need to express what can't be said in words alone. Whether you paint, write, dance, or simply create beauty through how you live, your soul is always in quiet conversation with the world around you. Yet this archetype carries its own challenges. The diplomat's shadow is the fear of disapproval, the temptation to keep the peace at any cost, even if it means silencing your own needs. You might find yourself avoiding hard conversations or compromising so much that you lose sight of your own truth. But remember, true harmony isn't about erasing conflict. It's about finding the courage to speak honestly, to show up fully, and to trust that real connection can survive, even thrive, in the presence of honest difference. At your best, you're an alchemist of the heart. You remind us that beauty is not a luxury but a language, the way we honor each other's souls and build spaces of trust and grace. Your art, whether it's a painting, a poem, or the simple kind way you move through the world, heals and inspires. And in a world that often feels divided, your gift for seeing the whole picture is a balm for weary hearts. November, the archetype of the alchemist or the deep transformer. As autumn deepens and the nights grow long, November carries a hush, a gravity that invites introspection. In Jung's vision, this is the month of the alchemist or the deep transformer. Those who understand that real change begins not in the bright light of day, but in the quiet places of the soul. If you were born in November, you may feel this pull within you, a magnetic draw to the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. You're not satisfied with shallow answers or quick fixes. You want to understand the roots of things, to dive into the places others fear to tread. There's a kind of fierce honesty in you, a willingness to face your own shadows and to walk with those who are also searching for truth. But this depth can be both a gift and a weight. You may find yourself carrying wounds that are hard to name, or feeling emotions that seem too vast to hold. The challenge for November-born souls is to remember that healing doesn't mean denying your darkness. It means learning to hold it gently, to see it not as a curse, but as a doorway to greater strength. The alchemist's journey is about turning pain into wisdom and loss into transformation. You're someone who doesn't just survive. You emerge from each trial reborn, like iron tempered in fire. And though your path may be lonely at times, it is also profoundly beautiful. Because every time you choose to face what's hard, you become a guide for others, a quiet light in the dark, a testament to the power of vulnerability. December, the archetype of the wise teacher or the visionary sage. At last, the wheel of the year turns to December, a time of endings and of quiet hope. Jung believed that those born in December carry within them the archetype of the wise teacher or the visionary sage, the one who looks at the world not with cynicism, but with clear-eyed faith. If your birthday falls in December, you likely have a deep respect for the cycles of life. You understand that everything has its time, its moment to grow, to fade, to be reborn. There's an old soul quality in you, a patience that sees beyond the urgency of the moment to the longer arc of meaning. In conversations, you're the friend who can offer comfort without judgment, who sees the potential in others, even when they can't see it in themselves. Yet the sage's shadow is the temptation to withdraw, to live so much in the realm of ideas that you forget the messy, glorious imperfection of real life. You may find it easier to think about what matters than to fully live it. But December-born souls are called to bridge that gap, to bring their wisdom down from the mountaintop and into the everyday, to turn insight into action and reflection into a life of purpose. At your best, you are a quiet revolution, a reminder that the soul's journey isn't about perfection, but about depth. You show us that real wisdom isn't about having all the answers, but about living the questions with humility and grace. When we look at these final archetypes, October's artist, November's alchemist, December's sage, we see not just months on a calendar, but living metaphors for the phases of the human spirit. Each one whispers a different truth, that beauty can soothe the soul, that darkness can be a teacher, that endings can hold the seed of beginnings. Jung never meant for these archetypes to trap us in roles or to flatten the wild complexity of the human heart. Instead, he saw them as invitations to look within, to listen to the quiet voices of the soul, and to honor the ways we are shaped by both the visible and the invisible forces of life. So as you reflect on your birth month, its gifts, its shadows, its quiet callings, remember this: your soul's path isn't set in stone. It's a dance, a conversation, a work of art in progress. And you are the artist, the alchemist, the sage of your own life. Let these archetypes be your companions, not your limits. Let them be signposts pointing you back to yourself, not to who you were told to be, but to who you are becoming. Because at the end of the day, the most profound journey is the one that leads you home to your own heart. The lights on the calendar may shift, and the seasons may turn without end, but the only constant is the inner movement, the quiet whisper that makes you look inward and ask, what does all of this truly say about me? Carl Jung, with his courage to name the unseen, showed us that behind every birth date, every sign, every symbol, there lies an archetypal force, a universal pattern that speaks straight to the soul and transcends generations. But here's the truth that few dare to embrace. This isn't a map of fate. It's an invitation. An invitation to transform what you were born into what you choose to become. Because you're not just the echo of a month, a sign, or an archetype. You're the sum of everything you carry, your joys and your fears, your triumphs and your falls. You're the living synthesis of what you inherited and what you decide to nurture each day. And that decision, that silent choice to see yourself honestly, is what makes all the difference. So don't let these images become cages. Use them as mirrors. Let them reveal where you still hold back, where you hide your voice, where you fear your own brilliance. Let them remind you that each symbol has light and shadow, and that real power is born when you learn to dance with both, because the journey of every soul is singular. There's no single path, no single archetype, no single label that can ever contain the fullness of who you are. What exists is your courage to feel the calling, and to live that story with presence, with truth, and with the awareness that life has never been about predictions, but about the courage to reinvent yourself. That is Jung's legacy, and that is the provocation we leave with you. Don't accept easy explanations or ready-made labels. Go deeper. Dive in. Because the greatest mystery you'll ever uncover isn't what your birth month says about you, but what you're willing to create from it. That's the true alchemy, turning what you were given into something that only you can bring to life. And now, it's in your hands.